Hi guys, welcome back to Dream Analytica. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important aspects of analytical psychology, something that we must accomplish as a collective. It is one of the main priorities in Jungian therapy. It's one of those components that will determine the dynamic of your interpersonal relationships, not just with other people, but within yourself as well. And this dynamic, which I'm going to get into in just a minute, is so important. It is probably one of the most important things you can learn in psychology. And this video is going to be specifically for women because of the animus problem. Now, we have a choice in psychology for men and women. It is either that the men understand their anima or that women understand their animus. One of the two has to be revealed. And I think I have done plenty of work with men, not just clients, but in making videos on myself as well, since I am a man, that I put plenty of work out there to elucidate the anima. And so my goal now is to try and facilitate and elucidate the animus, the masculine aspect within a woman's psychology, mainly because he's so elusive and he's so difficult to understand, especially when I speak to women. However, the one really amazing aspect that I've experienced in my line of work is that women are actually very open to the idea of the animus. And what Jung described the animus as is the animus is just another word for spirit in Latin. So that tells you a lot too, because women are more attuned to the spiritual realm, more in tune with intuition and feelings, the unconscious. It makes sense that they have an open mind to these concepts, far greater than men. Men seem to, from my experience, prefer a more rationalistic approach, meaning 1 + 1 = 2. They would like a definition, so to speak. But with women, you can be a little more abstract, you can be a little more counterintuitive, and you could speak in more symbolic terms. And that's very important because what that entails is that women are more open to the unconscious and its contents, which is precisely what Jungian psychology aims to do. It's to bring light to the unconscious elements within our psyche. So the hard part about revealing the animus or the masculine within woman is just that. It's the rational aspect, trying to rationalize him. He's a devil. He's a real devil. He's a real nuisance to the woman's psychology. And primarily because that's just his nature. I mean, if you look at men in real life, we can be a real nuisance to women. But just as he is negative, he is also positive, which is very important to understand as well. But for the most part, because he's been so unconscious and there is so little writing on him, particularly by women. I believe like Tony Wolff touches on it, Emma Young. These are all like Jungian psychologists, people familiar with people who knew Jung personally. Emma Young is his wife. Carl Jung's wife. Tony Wolff was his associate. If you read on that, you'll find some interesting things there. But anyways, yeah, there's been so few writings on the animus, and I think it's for two reasons. One is because men, we aren't women. We cannot dive into your psychology. We cannot understand your psychology and act as if it were our own. We can only observe from the outside, so to speak. The other is that the reason more women haven't written about it is quite simply because they don't really know about it. And in addition to that, it's because if they do know about it, it's extremely difficult to see him within yourself, because he's an unconscious entity. And if you understand that man is logos and women are eros, and if the inner man is in the unconscious, so what technically that means is that your logos or your logical aspect is in the unconscious, how are you going to decipher or discern him without logos? Because your logos is him. He is the logos. That's not to say women don't have logos. It just means that for the most part, their inner masculine would represent the logos. Equally for men, for the most part, their eros is in the unconscious. This is why a lot of men are really stupid with their feelings. We are completely oblivious to the feelings of others and the feelings of ourselves. We are kind of stumbling around in life with our feeling aspect, so to speak. So that shows you where the balance lies. And this is not to attack or berate, either or. It's just we need to understand these things within ourselves because it's so important. It is fundamental. And a lot of the problems that exist nowadays, it can all be boiled down to psychology, really. It may not seem like it at first, but again, women who are more in tune with the spiritual realm, with the intuitive, with the unconscious, understand exactly what I'm talking about, that it can be boiled down to psychology. For the rational man, the male figure, they probably would have no idea. They'll think, what the hell is this guy talking about? It's not psychology, it's economics, or it's some political thing. Well, I mean, who is running the show? It's a man, or a person, or a woman, with a psychology, with dreams, with, fears and all that. The system is run by people, ultimately. I mean, if you wiped everyone off the earth, there would be no system. So fundamentally, it boils down to psychology. So that small thing, which we call the animus, or the man's anima, and even the shadow, play a huge part in civilization. We just don't see it as clearly. But when you understand psychology, it becomes more clear, and it helps you understand how the world's working. So the reason why I want to elucidate the animus in this video is because, again, he's a devil. And I would like to ease the suffering, the internal suffering that this devil brings by shining a light on him. I think if you shine a light on the unconscious aspects, they turn positive, they turn constructive. It's most likely because of this repression that causes this negativity, this devilish aspect of the animus. That's not to say that he will always be a positive aspect if we elucidate him, if we shine a light on him. He can still play a role in creating havoc and hysteria. But to a large extent, if you elucidate him, something will change. It's the healthy thing to do, as opposed to repression or ignorance. Ignorance is a bad idea. Let's just put it at that. The other reason we are trying to do this, again, is for your interpersonal relationships. If you want better relationships with not just yourself, but with other people, then elucidating the animus will play a key role in that. I'm laughing primarily for the reason that there are some indications that you can use in real life that will show you when you are in your animus. And again, most women understand exactly what I'm talking about when I say that your inner man took over. They know exactly when this inner figure is taking control over their body, their emotion, their thinking, their whole body. So the other thing too is, if you want to, the easiest way to reveal him, other than using other people to help you reveal him for you, is again focusing on your dreams. You will get a good idea exactly what this male figure that takes over you looks like. It's such an interesting psychological phenomenon, really. Like there will be, we'll get a bit personal and deep here, but let's say a woman has a father complex. There's some incestuous relationship going on. There's some regards that what is happening there is that the woman's animus, which the father is absolutely responsible for, so because the father is the first male figure the woman sees. So it's only natural that the unconscious male aspect within a woman's psychology will take the form of the father. So what happens there is that the woman's male side is the father, and equally for the man, the inner feminine side turns into the daughter, and then they don't realize that they're projecting each other's opposites onto each other, and then there becomes that relationship. But what happens is that the woman, as she gets older, if you have the image of the father, let's say you have the archetypal image of a father, like, the way he looks with a beard, whatever, possibly have some mannerisms, like a bad attitude, like mood swings, anger, whatever you want to, if the father is not emotionally stable. The woman will incorporate those behaviors into her own being. You could see it. It's very clear. She will even dress like him. You could see it, like the woman starts to behave like the father. That's the inner man. That's the inner man taking over, like her body, her being. Naturally, a woman with a healthy psychology will, I'm not speaking for all women, but will naturally be in her feminine. That's what a lot of people are talking about when they say when a woman is in her feminine, she feels protected and safe. That's actually right. In Jungian psychology too, it means that the man doesn't have to take over the woman. That usually women who don't feel safe or are in a situation where they're constantly stressed, unsafe, the masculine, the inner masculine will just take over, and then potentially, like, it's quite hard for the feminine to come back. So she stays in her masculine for the rest of her life, and that's not good, because you've let this unconscious personality take over your identity essentially, and you're not able to be yourself anymore. You see that a lot, happen a lot. And there's one indication, another indication is that there's something going on with the eyes too, is what I've realized. But let's say that the unconscious entity has taken over. Their eyes, doesn't matter what color, it goes really dark and dull. Like there's almost this fog, as if the person was standing behind the individual. So these are some indications. I'm only going over indications of what the animus behaves and appears like, as my observation is of women, and the women that I deal with, the women that I speak to, the women that are my friends, that I'm in a relationship with, my clients as well, my own mother, I've seen it too. So those are some indications of when the inner man comes out. And he becomes very problematic because he gets in the way of the relationship. When the woman, the way you want to frame it quite literally is that every woman is like this, every woman and every man, but every woman has an inner child, that little girl. And what happens if the woman feels like this unsafe thing is the man steps in front and is in front of the little girl. So her true identity is now either behind the guy, very far back in the depths of her psychology, or completely gone, depending on what state she's in. The goal of this is to try to bring the little girl back so that she feels safe enough to come out, and make sure that that man is a positive figure, first of all, and make sure he's not in control. He's only there to assist. He's not there to control. He's only there as a support mechanism. And that's very important. So where does the image of the man and how do you get a positive image of the man in the woman in the first place? I did mention it a little bit before. It comes from the father. If the father is healthy psychologically, and this is very rare, by the way, because a lot of men don't take their psychology seriously. They don't take their dreams seriously. They view it as nonsense. All they care about is material success, support, providing, all that jazz. And that's fine. That's not to say wrong or right. It's just that is the fact that very few men have been able to practice on their own psychology for healthier development. It's just what it is. So the image of the father, whatever wounds he has, whatever problems he has, whatever psychological imbalance he has, he passes on to the children, both the son and the daughter. But particularly for the daughter, because the daughter sort of takes the image of the father as her animus, the spirit of the father as her animus. So whatever the spirit, whatever the father spirit looks like, the woman takes. And usually it's not a very good spirit. And then later down the road, there's a lot of psychological problems for the woman because of that spirit. And so it's left to either the husband, partner, or therapist to fix that image, which can be fixed, by the way. So there's some positive aspect to it all, that it can be fixed, it can be worked on, and it can be elucidated, and the woman can become enlightened and independent and strong and creative and powerful, while also maintaining beautiful relationships, beautiful harmony in her femininity, where it's allowed to shine as brightly as possible. This is all doable. It's just extremely difficult. Like I said, for the reasons I said before. You could just rewind if you want to have me repeat it. Another reason why it's so important to elucidate is because you're probably having a lot of these negative thoughts. Like I said, this Animus character is a real devil. He's a jerk, he's an asshole. He is quite literally the personification of the devil. And I've had so many women, so many, dream of the literal fucking devil. What? Yeah. One woman, one woman that I spoke to who shared her dreams with me quite literally saw the devil and rode an elevator through the 10 levels of hell. In Dante's Inferno, there's 9, but she had 10. So that told me something. And another client that I worked with, she had the devil, this really strange figure, devil figure stalking her. So the way those manifest in conscious reality is usually like extremely negative outlooks on life, negative feelings, negative ideas, thoughts, power hungry. The devil is power hungry. The woman may use her femininity to have power in the name under the facade of love, you know. She will use lust as her weapon, become a temptress and stuff like that. That does real harm to the psychology of the woman, actually, because it's not her. It's not, the feminine doesn't do that. The feminine doesn't like to manipulate. It's the devil likes to manipulate. So very dangerous stuff if you do that. There's many examples, and I don't need to, I can illustrate some, but to keep this a little more condensed, I don't need to explain what is going on there. So the devil plays all these mind games on the woman. The devil, you want to view him as quite literally an entirely separate personality from you as the woman. You want to understand that, okay, you did some of these things, but it may not have actually been your fault. Although you must be careful with that because it is you who is doing these things. So you need to become aware that there are these unconscious entities that can take over. I mean, we make so many movies about these things, like women being possessed by a demon, you know, like The Exorcist, where the devil takes over the woman's body. That's quite literally what is happening psychologically, and quite possibly in dreams. Women who have sleep paralysis, where they dream of a demon like holding them down and they can't move, that's the demon, that's the devil. The repression has gotten to such a high level that the devil quite literally is suffocating the woman, the feminine woman. And I can keep going infinitely about this topic because it's so fascinating. Because what we want to do is elucidate him as much as possible. So I'm just going to keep talking until we get the idea of what this asshole man is doing. And not all women are like this, obviously, but for the vast majority, yes, because we don't understand the animus. It is so important to understand this psychological phenomenon, that men have an inner woman that in her right is also a devilish creature. She can be demonic. And that women have this thing called the animus, the nnerMasculine. And he's real. He's this thing. We use metaphors. We have so many archetypes about it. There are fairy tales made about it. There's so many. We just didn't know that it was happening psychologically. We saw it as this. We sort of projected it outward onto, you know, media, into film, into stories, into books, like Beauty and the Beast. You could take the beast as her primitive animus, this primitive male figure that kidnaps Beauty, you know. That's what's happening. That's a psychological story being told. We just projected it because it's unconscious. And that's one rule that you need to understand. Whatever is unconscious, we project. So we are projecting these mythologies out there, not realizing that they're actually psychological explanations, and quite possibly the psychological problems with the solution. So the beast transforms into the prince. I'm laughing because there's some memes now that is going around where Beauty, like, she has this look on her face when the beast transforms into a human and she doesn't like it. What that is saying is, like, she prefers the beast. Yeah, you know, but you probably don't want that aggressive, because he's uncontrollable. He's going to take over you. Instead of loving you, he wants power. That's what the beast is. Yeah, we can get into that. But that also shows, Beauty and the Beast also shows the stages of development that occurs for the animus. He doesn't just have one form forever. He has many forms that he takes, and he evolves over time. And one really cool evolution that I have experienced from one of my female clients is that she had dreams about demons and devils attacking her at night. And then once we started our consultation, she started having dreams about me, the analyst, sort of guiding her in the dreams. So that shows you like it can be changed, it can be developed, and this devilish form was able to transform. I know I'm digressing and hopping all over the place, but it sort of bleeds into one another either way. So whatever you take from it, it's all gonna make sense in the grand scheme of things. So when we go back to those negative thoughts, you could say that these thoughts are not your own. And one other thing you must understand, which again is not common in any literature that you can read, it's very, you would have to read a ton to get this information, by the way. So that's what I'm here for. I did the research so that I can share it with you, so that I can elucidate it. Just, trying to highlight the major points here, because there's so much about this that we don't know. Is that the Animus takes the form of a group of men. Why is that? I have no idea. Like for the man, his inner woman usually takes the form of one woman, the woman, his soul. But for the woman, the inner man takes the spirit of her time, so a collective, which may explain why he appears as many men. Like a lot of women in dreams get attacked by a group of men, not just one man, but a group. So that shows you that the negative thoughts, this is just a random interpretation for this dream, let's say, that a group of men attacking her in dreams represents a collective thought, a collective logos, an idea that is attacking her, raping her in the dream. And that helps so much, because the woman's like, okay, so these ideas, these thoughts that I'm having about myself that make me feel insecure, that make me feel terrible about myself, they don't belong to me. They belong to this group. And I created a video right before this explaining how to deal with these negative thoughts by seeing them as a separate entity, and that they don't belong to you. That these thoughts are outside of you. That because you as a woman are connected to the collective unconscious at a much deeper level than men are, and that you are connected to the spirit of your time, the zeitgeist. You're connected to intuition, you're connected to feelings, that you can absorb these things from outside yourself. And it's usually that inner man that is taking all of these things from outside, because he's in your unconscious. You have actually 360-degree awareness. It's just that consciousness is like this narrow field of vision. But your unconscious is able to see, not just in terms of space, 360 degrees, that you're able to catch things that you're not paying attention to in space, but in time as well. So you're not limited or defined by the present moment, but your unconscious can actually extend outward in time, and then you get these visions. A lot of women were known as for being seers for this particular reason, because of their connection to the collective unconscious. So it's not a surprise that you would be able to absorb a lot of this information that's happening from outside. And again, it's so difficult. Believe me, I understand that it's extremely difficult, because on the one hand, these ideas that attack you may not be real, but then you can have intuitions and anticipations or predictions about future events that may actually be real. So working with your analyst, working with somebody you're close to that you love, that can help you, will help you distinguish between the two. It's so difficult. But one thing you can really work on is by elucidating the animus within yourself. Understand when he is coming out. Understand what he looks like. Understand using your dreams, using your imagination. Like let's say you're having negative thoughts about yourself. You're extremely cruel to yourself. Like, why are you doing this, first of all? It might not be you, but let's say you're having these negative thoughts. Just close your eyes and imagine who is saying these things, and an image will pop up. It's maybe your father, your cruel stepfather, the one that was so mean to you. Or maybe it's your ex-boyfriend who you were in a abusive relationship with, that berated you because you were in that abusive relationship. So then you realize, okay, let's not project it. So let's not blame the real person. Let's see it as our own psychological phenomenon. And then you say, okay, that guy represents my inner man. And you will have, again, when you do that, just by doing that, you're transforming him. The very act observation transforms it. So just simply doing this exercise transforms him into something different. And it works. It really does work. Understanding something works, and you'll feel better. You'll feel lighter because you brought something to the surface now. It's no longer a hidden thing. It's there. You know what it looks like. So you could transform it. And what ultimately you want to do is to transform him into some healthy male figure that you respect, that you admire, that is noble, that has good intentions, that, is also connected spiritually in himself, that is secure in his own masculinity, a healthy masculine figure, the one that protects the feminine, not uses the feminine. And a lot of women who are in their animus will do that, right? Some women actually know they have this inner man. They know it intuitively. And so what they do is they use their inner man to attack men out there while they hide behind that man. The little girl hides behind that gangster, we like to call it. So that the woman uses her animus like a gangster, hiding behind him. So he's like shooting with words, or maybe her physical powers to attack men in real life. Again, maybe I'm speaking of when it's not necessary, when maybe the man is not a bad person, or it's the husband and he's a good guy actually, but this inner devil is taking over. She will use that inner man to take over, attack the man, and then when the man tries to fight back, the girl comes out again and she's like, oh, like, why'd you say all those mean things? I'm just an innocent, weak little girl, he's so evil. And then she takes all of his possessions. And what we want to do for both men and women is to not use power in these games, because that's self-destructive. Power corrupts. Power will corrupt you. It will destroy you. And we don't need to look far for examples of this. Women who try to use their power do not fare so well. And even if they have all the material things because of this power gain, let's say they get a lot of money out of it, if they're not psychologically healthy, the devil's gonna come after you. Your eyes are gonna go dark. You can see it. I know you can see it in especially people on social media. The devil will come after you. You will pay your price for signing a deal with the devil. You sold your soul for that. So don't do it. Can't stop you, but I'm saying don't do it. I really don't think it's a good idea. I've seen it. It's what happens is, like, there's plenty of religious texts about it too. What happens is that you do that, and then you live to the very last day of your life, and then the inner man leaves just at the last minute before you die, and then the woman finally wakes up, and it's too late. And she dies in complete fear and loss and hopelessness, in anger and disappointment and all that. That's the final judgment, by the way. I'm laughing because you don't have to do that. Just don't do stuff like that. Don't let power dominate you. Don't let this inner man, this inner figure dominate you. You want to be strong in your own individuality, in your own identity, not taken over. You don't want to use anything. You don't want to use anyone, manipulate. Marilyn Monroe is a very clear example as well for a different kind of power game where women use their beauty as a sort of siren call for men to gain power. What happens is she loses her identity completely because the men don't love her for who she is. They love her for the image she represents. And just like a cardboard cutout, when you take that home with you, when you take this kind of person home with you, it's empty. There's nothing behind the cardboard. It's just a piece of cardboard. And that's why she, was probably very lonely in real life. And again, it's debated how she ended her life, or how her life ended, but you could say that, she was on some medication. Ultimately, she met her fate. So these are a lot of things that we need to elucidate about women's psychology. And again, it's very difficult because women and men, women cannot see their own dark side. It's extremely difficult, especially if you have logos in the back. And then men, we aren't women, so we cannot see. But all I can do is observe from the outside and see what's going on the inside. Now, there is one pathway that I think would work, is that if I get to know, and I have, get to know my inner woman, she teaches me about women's psychology as well. But again, the body is just as important as the mind. It's only possible to a certain extent, having my anima teach me about the psychology of women. And to some extent, I can dive into the woman's mind and see what's going on because of my anima, because she affords me the intuition, the feelings, the depth, the connection to the unconscious to that extent. But again, it's not me, it's my anima. She allows me to see a glimpse, if anything, into the unconscious of women. And then I use my masculine to rationalize and dissect and separate what is the woman, what is not the woman. And one last thing before I end this video is that another simple way to understand how to identify your animus is by seeing, and men can help in this regard, is seeing when you're using speeches that are generalized. Like I said, the animus can sometimes represent a general collective, a group of men. So speech patterns will be like us, we. When a woman gets married and then she starts speaking for her husband or the family in general, that it becomes very prominent there. She starts using the collective. We don't do this here. We are going to build it, as if she contributed any, like any manpower to build the house. We will build the house. Stuff like that. That's one way you can understand the inner man. Again, she may actually have built the house along with her, but I'm watching like this show Grand Designs. I highly recommend it. And there's this one wife where she quite literally doesn't do anything, and the husband is like there 24/7 at the construction site. And then she's like, when they're in a group shot, she's like, yeah, we are gonna stack these bricks, we're gonna choose the cladding, and we're gonna put up the cladding. And then I think the host was like, and what are you gonna do? And she's like, I'm not gonna do anything, my husband's gonna do it. Those are just that's not like a negative animus in any regard. I'm just saying that you want to look out for those things when you're trying to identify the inner man. He also takes the form of collective ideas as well. Like I mentioned, he's going to take a lot of collective ideas. Like, it might sound good in a general sense, like everyone is doing this thing, so we should do it as well. But for the personal, like especially if you're in a relationship with your husband, for the personal regard, it doesn't work, because she has completely neglected the husband's feeling. And usually the husband unconsciously, because the animus, just like the man and the woman in real life, the animus and the anima dynamic, that is the main cause of conflict in a relationship. It's actually not the man and the woman, it's their inner man and their inner woman. So the animus and the anima clash all the time. And one way you can understand when your man's, like if you're a woman and you have a husband, one way you can understand when you've triggered his anima, his feminine side, is if you start speaking and he can't be in the same room as you anymore. It's probably because you've unconsciously started using collective words, using collective explanations. Maybe you want something done in a very specific way, completely neglecting the man's feelings in that moment, and he just rolls his eyes and he storms out. That's him. That's his emotional side coming out, his inner woman coming out. And again, the man's feminine side is very primitive. It's like a child, so he will behave like a child. He will throw tantrums. He will scream, he will yell, he will, cry, whatever you want to call it. That's one way to identify when a man's inner woman comes out. So I know this was a bit long, but I don't mind. I think we have to elucidate the animus as much as possible. And I'm going to keep creating these videos until we have a clearer and clearer understanding of the animus, because I think it's so helpful. I think a lot of women are actually seeking this kind of information, although I don't know how to reach as many women as possible that do need this information. Again, some might take offense to it, because one of the things that I didn't mention in this video that I should mention right now is that the animus, like the devil, doesn't want to be seen. He doesn't want to be figured out. So I'm not saying all women are like this, but for some women, especially those who are currently possessed by their anima, will take serious offense to this and try to use it against me somehow. that I'm being sexist or being, no, I'm being a psychologist. I just want truth. I just want to understand things. I want to know how they work. I don't really care about whatever debate that is. All I know is that I have my own demons to deal with, and that I do deal with my own demons. My own inner woman can be a real bitch sometimes. And I have emotional outbursts that I understand now are not my own, but are of this woman. And I've dealt with them, other men, my clients, people that I know. I even had an abusive stepfather towards my mother, which I understood now, psychologically speaking, what the fuck was going on with him. So no, it's not sexist at all. I'm trying to be as equal. I'm just trying to be as objective as I possibly can, and trying to elucidate as much as possible what these internal forces are doing to us. Because, like I said, the root is psychology. So I know it doesn't seem related, but if we can fix these internal dynamics, and we become enlightened, which is the goal, who knows what it might do for the greater good. Who knows how the butterfly effect might work. If we just do these small little things, big things can happen in the future. So if we elucidate this Animus figure, and it makes you healthier, it makes you happier, it makes you more peaceful, at ease, more secure in yourself, why is that a bad thing? I mean, why would you rather do otherwise, you know? So again, this is for women who want to understand, who want to have clear indications of what the internal forces is happening inside her, and try to elucidate it with as much help from not just me, but from everyone as well, sharing their experiences. And I've been doing this for several years, so I know, and I'm learning all the time. And every time I get some new information, I'll create a new video. So as to get more experience with this Animus figure. And the more women I talk to, the better I understand him. The better they understand him. The more enlightened we all become. So there's a butterfly effect going on just in my small circle already. And helping loved ones is the best feeling in the world. Like, if I can free my own sister or my own mother from their internal devil, why the hell wouldn't I? No matter how much pain it causes me, because the devil doesn't just sit idly by while you unravel him. He attacks with an immense amount of force. He's very painful to deal with. He has this sword, this flaming sword, that he just cuts right through you. So it's not easy work. And that's something you need to understand. Your devil will try to fight back at being seen. He wants to stay in the shadows, but let's not let him anymore. Let's not help him create chaos in the world that we see today. Because I think he may be responsible for a lot of those things that are occurring unconsciously, spiritually. The energy that you're sending out is causing these things. So if we don't shine a light on this guy, his energy is just going to overtake, because you're connected to the collective unconscious. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand the pollutants you can pour into the collective unconscious. It starts with a very small individual releasing their pollutants into the sea of the collective. So it's like if one of you just shines a light in that dark sea of the collective, think of it spreading, like just spreading across this ocean of darkness. If one of you just does it, and imagine the more of us that do it, would just spread more light. Because that darkness is what's going on in the world. It's a mirror, a reflection of what's going on in the world. You know, what's happening in all these wars, the children being murdered and stuff like that. The inhumanity. And it seems very reminiscent of the devil. He's inhumane. You know, he's unconscious. So let's all work on this stuff. And I'll continue to create more videos to elucidate this guy. And I need your help. So thank you so much for watching. Again, I developed an app. You can go check that out in the store if you'd like more information on this stuff. It's like a book, so you buy it and you own it, and I get to update it. So it's a little bit better than a book. I get to update it constantly with new information. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.